All right, so as we continue our focus today on Women's Month, we shift to one Andiswa Gowa, an occupational therapist who has fused her entrepreneurial skills with her profession to give birth to Andiswa Gowa Practice. AGP is an occupational therapy-based practice that operates under the Health Professions Council of South Africa. She also pilots Simi Healthcare Solutions, which specializes in medico-legal case management and medico-legal report procurement. She joins us now to unpack some of her achievements and just look at her career, the journey that she's traveled on this Women's Month, and I'm sure your lifetime as well. It's not just on this one day, 1 month. Thank you so much for joining us, Andiswa. So I've given a brief CV, but maybe let's just get into how you got into occupational therapy. We recently had to go to one as a family. I think it was last week. It was quite interesting for me to actually interact with an occupational therapist and look at how they approach things, you know. So one would have actually even thought of it as a profession.
I'm laughing. Good evening, Tafiswa and the guests. Maybe I need to just thank this opportunity to be here first. Yeah, OT, we call it OT in brief, is such a very diverse kind of a profession. And it's not something that, it's not a profession that is common, especially for black females.
And widely touted, I'd imagine.
Yes, and I always, let me say it from the start, I always encourage younger people to actually come in to become occupational therapists, because in terms of job securities and so forth, you are guaranteed a job, especially with the high unemployment rate and so forth. And then another thing is that you asked me a question that where did I start? I always have this story that my father was actually working for Transnet, and it was fortunate enough that there were industrial psychologists who were doing assessments within Transnet. So they said to me, you can either be an OT or a psychologist or a social worker. And I said, I want the one that I don't know. So I didn't know OT. So then, yeah, it was a nice journey from there.
And I'd imagine a very strategic thing when you look back at how there's such a saturation of what we understand as mainstream professions. So degree people who are unemployed because of going into what we often corralled into, no, go to this one and get more money, you're more respected. Did you thank yourself for that, going against the grain?
No, definitely. I call OT one of the main lines, because I think when we're looking at the youth and when we're looking at people that are coming after us, we need to look at the job-specific type of professions. Because, as I said, with an OT, you can be employed in South Africa and you can be employed globally. So it's not limiting you to just the South African shores. You can actually expand your territory in terms of practicing. And also, even within South Africa, it's so diverse. As you've said, most people normally meet OTs when they're dealing with children who've got special needs or they've got learning problems. But you can also meet OTs in hospitals and even insurers, because that's where you're looking at the medical boarding and analyzing if someone can be able to go back to work. And my field of specialty is medico-legal work, where we're looking at proving cases for litigation purposes.
So take us through that, and particularly, obviously without betraying your client's confidence, but what women often encounter, what they're grieved with, and how capacitated have they been in their various environments, whether it's in the home, the workplaces, to be able to deal with the kind of situations that they end up confronting?
And what comes into my mind, Tepiso, is the what we call now the mothers who have given birth to children who've got cerebral palsy. And you'll find that most of those women are coming from the disadvantaged communities. And some of them are young, and they experience this event, and in a sense that they have to nurture the children who've got disabilities. So it becomes critical for occupational therapists to actually zoom and look at what we can do, especially for the women who are from the disadvantaged background.
And I'd imagine then, I was just actually thinking, it's a story we're going to do down the line, then you're confronted with stigma and old wives' tales, things that are unscientific or just general ignorance. So then one, I'd imagine, feels stymied about how to go forward and deal with some of these things.
It's very difficult to actually navigate this process, especially with someone who's coming, a female who's coming from the disadvantaged background. And also when you look at the complications that the children with cerebral palsy have, for example, they have to deal with a stomach bag. And imagine someone who's coming from, like, who's never seen a stomach bag and having to manage that so that the child cannot die. You know, they have to look at the type of the diet that the children have to eat because of the background. So it is such a sad, avenue where you feel that you can do so much to actually help and equip those kind of mothers.
And I'm just wondering, challenges you may have faced in entering some of these areas of work, even Simi Healthcare Solutions, and if you can tell us a little bit more about that. If women are discouraged or not even welcomed in some of these areas, and why it's important, and also the stereotypes are problematic for me that certain work is good for women because there are women. You know, it also just says you can go here and no further.
No further. Unfortunately, OT is more female-oriented type of a
That's what I was
profession.
thinking, yeah.
You know, but when you look at it, it's because of the nature, the nurturing that we have to provide and the structure that we have to provide. But within my field of expertise, where I have to meet the legal component, then that's where the challenge is. Because as a female, you come in, you talk about things that the attorneys don't understand about. Like, let's say you talk about the stoma, as I said, stomach care. You talk about your napkins, you talk about the wheelchairs and everything. So then you need to be stronger and your voice must be heard so that they can understand the challenges that the females are going through when they have such children.
And some of your legal case management where it pertains to women, what have you seen, what have you noticed? As we're talking about women's issues, whether it's empowerment, challenges, rights, are you able to share that with us?
Not really. I think what is key is how the whole case management process is managed. You know, in South Africa, we are the third world country, we know, and it's sometimes we are not yet at the epicenter of understanding how we manage cases, you know, especially when I'm talking about the females, when we know that they don't understand, some of them, they don't understand the language. They go to doctors where they don't even know how to express what they have. You know, so it's those kind of diversities that they encounter where when they come to people like the occupational therapist or myself or any other health profession who can understand the background are able to relate and express their challenges.
So the young women around you or you encounter at work and they see you handling this kind of business, growing this kind of business, how have you been able to talk to them, guide them about how to overcome some of the challenges, obviously some of the lessons we must learn ourselves, but to help them navigate the space, to encourage them and say, you too can do it and actually do better?
I'm a believer in excellence, you know, and I always believe in employing younger people, especially younger females. And my motto in life is that if you don't use your talent, it's going to be depleted. So that is my motto in life. So I've seen young girls who come into the office. Some of them, they come in as general assistants, and now they've moved into the administrative positions. And some of them have even gone through to study maybe industrial psych or any other profession, but from the nurturing. And I always say, one has to reap, you know, what they sow. You cannot plant a pumpkin and then you get a potato. So my emphasis in life is that even in business, let's push as females and let's push as women to be able to move from one step to the next.
And obviously, just final, the female experience, as you say, is not monolithic, it's not hegemonic. What would you say to women out there who are not only struggling to make it in certain spaces, but to also say, you know, own your femininity, be proud of it, wear it, but also not be afraid to be firm and speak your mind and be an individual?
No, definitely. I think we as females have set back for a long time. You know, we need to move out there. One disadvantage I always say is that we don't speak up. We don't share our successes, and we don't understand how we've succeeded, you know. So if we can look at those principles and say, all right, fine, what has made Andiswa to be where she is? Let's learn and study those. What has made Utsepiso to be where she is, you know? So we need to look at those things. I really would encourage females to sit down and we study, and we embrace each other as females. You know, because, you know, we've got this pulling down syndrome as females. You know, when you see someone walking in, you don't even know their name, you're like, oh, why is she looking so pretty? You know, and we don't understand where they're coming from. So we need to emphasize that and show that we can build each other as females.
You said something very interesting, which reminded me of a thought. They say, look at where you slipped and not where you fell. And I thought it was very instructive in terms of, as you said, when we're building each other. That's, of course, what we're trying to do, that we show each other where you can do better. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the chat.
Thank you.
Andiswa Gowa is occupational therapist. She is the head of Andiswa Gowa Practice. She is involved in medico-legal case management, as well as doing therapist-based work with the Health Professions Council of South Africa.